That's what we're going to focus on today. A little secret that a lot of times the things you need to change aren't coming after the fact of your prospecting, how you find your leads, that sort of thing. It's before that, how you identify leads, how you prioritize and how you organize that. Everything before those emails and phone calls go out can have downstream impact in a big, big way. That's why we've got these 3 tips, the 3 areas we want to focus on today to hopefully set you up for a bigger, stronger Q4 and go into 2025 feeling really good. So we're going to talk about mastering prospecting in 3 steps to, again, find better leads, get bigger wins. We're going to start with number 1, who should I target? That's really important. Number 2, who should we prioritize? And number 3, how to cut through the noise. I think you do any one of these, get better at it, you're going to be in much better position. I think if you do all 3 or you just make incremental improvements in all 3, it can have a really, really big outsized impact. So we're going to hop into step 1, Zoe.
Thanks so much, James. Let's talk about who. Regardless of what you sell, the conversation is going to fundamentally change depending on who you're talking to. If an SDR from a Series A cybersecurity company asks me, what does Apollo do? Contextually, my answer should probably change compared to when a CRO from a Fortune 500 manufacturing company asks me. And this is because different roles at different companies care about different things. And if we're being really honest, some people really aren't going to care about your solution at all because your solution isn't for everyone. So who should we be reaching out to in the first place? Let's actually walk through a super practical exercise. We're going to build out our ICP. So this is actually a variation on a working session I used to do with my AE back when I was an SDR. First things first, you are going to go through your CRM, be it HubSpot, Salesforce, your literal diary, if that's where you keep all this stuff. Go through the last 3 to 4 months of your closed won deals. And you're going to spin up a really quick spreadsheet with headers like industry, employee count, funding, titles involved in the deal, tech stack, maybe the main reason they bought. I personally like to throw in deal cycle length while I'm at it. And if you want, you could even upload a list of your most recent customers into Apollo, and it'll effectively spin up the same sort of spreadsheet view. Speeding up that process looks a little bit cleaner. Next, you're actually going to look for some patterns. So I would organize the sheet by deal size, deal cycle length, and then look for the patterns in reasons they bought, personas involved, company size, industry or vertical. Boom, right there. That's your ICP. You can go ahead and throw away the marketing playbook that your team gave you in 2022, because this audit just gave you the information you need to create the filters to build your new target accounts list. Bonus thought, the market shifts pretty quickly, and this exercise is worth revisiting every quarter or half year. But who you think buys your solution may have changed. So it's worth it to not only look at the deals you've won, but look at the deals you've lost and the closed lost reasons. Look at the objections that people gave you in that deal cycle. It's going to help you identify even more patterns and adjust accordingly. And statistically speaking, buying is just not a single player sport anymore, because right now, the average deal actually involves up to 7 decision makers, and that is just an average. It can go up or down depending on your business segment, vertical, the solution or services you sell, etc. But the real is you need to involve a number of people in your outreach. So the 3 main personas you need to be thinking about are your economic buyer. This is going to be the person signing the check in the DocuSign. The champion. This is the person who is on the hook for the results that your solution will help drive. And then finally, the end user, the person who actually has to use the tool you just sold them. Sometimes these folks are going to overlap. Sometimes there are multiple of each, but at the end of the day, you have to win over every single one of them within the deal cycle if you want to land a customer that's really sticky. Multi-thread, early, and often. The next step, if you can nail down your ICP, and the personas within it, you're not only going to get more replies, but you're actually going to get more positive replies. A no thanks or I'm not interested doesn't help you whatsoever. But those positive sentiments, tell me more, would love to chat, I'm curious, share some more details. It's going to help you shorten your deal cycle, reduce the likelihood of churn because you're actually closing customers that are a better fit for your business and get the most value from your solution. And ultimately, it's going to increase your efficiency and effectiveness as a seller, which back in the day, that's what I cared about because it meant a bigger commissions check for me. So that's what we're going to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zoe. Step two, who should I prioritize? I think this is one of the biggest and most important, like I said, I do survey calls. And to me, this is one of those spots where I want you to, even if you think you're prioritizing, look at this with new eyes, because when I do calls and when I think even back to different companies I've been at, prioritization has been something that either people are just dipping their toe in the water or they think they're doing it, but they're not really prioritizing. So let me give you an example here, because obviously there's a prospecting pyramid. There's always going to be some people that are ready to buy. They've got executive sponsorship. They know they need it. The pain's been identified. They've got a line item, right? So they're ready to go. Depending on, obviously, if you're commoditized, you're coming in with something new, there's going to be differences there, but that's usually what people are looking for. There'll be people that are open to it, more convincible, maybe with more budget. And of course, these things will change depending on what the macro is in the economy or their industry. But there's always going to be less people looking to buy, ready with money, and people open to it than people who really are going to be difficult to convince of that. Now, if you're working all your leads the same, which so many people are, then you end up spending a majority of your time on leads that are pretty much unsellable. And that's where a lot of people are at right now. Because prioritization doesn't mean you should be trying to get more of your good leads. It means you should also be spending more time there. There should be more follow-ups, more personalization, manual emails, right? Doing special things, video messages, voice notes. The biggest deal in my career when I was at Uber, it was the 7th step of a sequence, leaving a voicemail on that step before I even got a reply back. That turned into a $30 million deal. So we need to be prioritizing and running experiments there to see what we can learn. So prioritization isn't just figuring out who's ready to buy and what your hypothesis is there, but then niching it down so that when one of those groups, one of those variations of it is working out, you could double down on that, not only on the number of steps, the amount of follow-ups, but maybe how many of those types of leads you're working. So this is very, very important. And it's something I think could transform a lot of teams' business. So how do you find, you're probably saying right now, okay, that sounds great, James. Well, how do I find that 10% of buyers that are looking to buy? And when I do, what do I do with it? I'm going to show you this I'm going to show it to you now. I'm also going to show you how you could set this up and where you find it when we go in app. But one of the easiest ways to do this is once you start to figure it out, when you're running experiments, when you've niched down those different groups, trying to identify the people looking to buy, just what Zoe said, figure out who they are, look for the data there. If you're not sure, you can always upload your existing customer base right into Apollo and get access to a ton of data, enriching those companies' information. But you can build lead scoring models right in Apollo. Not only does that help you score all the leads in Apollo as the ones that are best, Apollo will make recommendations, but it'll set you up for when you're prospecting off Apollo as well. Like when you're on LinkedIn, everybody's profile that you're on will be automatically scored for you. Really useful, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to be adding more headcount, more sellers. You're going to be expanding the team. You could transfer that knowledge, essentially what's in your brain, into the scoring model. When other people, new hire, come on the team, they're on somebody's page on LinkedIn, they'll know if it's good fit or not. Something that's real popular and a variation of it, a lot of people I haven't tapped into yet, but you can prioritize the people who have some level of intent. Doesn't mean that they're ready, as soon as you call them up, they're going to say, here's my credit card information. It does mean that somebody there has been looking into something. So you've got 2 different buckets of intent you can leverage. And again, I would use all of those to separate out the leads for different buckets, different buyer types in different industries. So you got the buying intent data in Apollo. There's 2 sources of data in that group within Apollo. You got Bombora and LeadSift, but that's a great way to leverage timeliness. Somebody in that company is searching for something related to what you have. You can use buying intent topics or topics as proxies to give you insights into what's going on at the company. But you also got your website visitor tracking. If you don't have something telling you the company is coming to your website, you'll be making all these calls, sending all these emails, doing all this activity. Some people get back to you, but there's a lot of people that won't. If you've generated some level of curiosity or interest, or maybe they want to talk to somebody else in their organization about it, they might come to your website and poke around. If you don't have something like that set up, Apollo has a wonderful website visitor tracking tool. It'll give you all that information. You can set up some wonderful plays and automations with it. It's available on every plan. I'll show you where to find that when we go in app.
All right. And the last step here is, how do I actually get a hold of these folks and cut through the noise? We know who we're talking to, and James just walked us through how to identify when they might be most likely to engage with us and buy. So what in the world do we say? Statistically speaking, your buyers have done about 70% of the research on their problem and your solution long before you ever even speak to them. And they're probably looking at a couple of your competitors or even using one of them today. So you need to be dialed in on their business, their problems, and their goals long before you pick up the phone or fire off an email. Ultimately, research is the name of the game. And more than being personal, you really, really need to be relevant. I don't actually care if you send me an email and reference the university I went to. It means nothing to me. But I definitely care if you can help me scale my influencer program without increasing my spend. Both details are personal, but one is very relevant to my problems that I'm facing in my job today. So you need to be researched enough to engage in a business conversation, build a relationship as a trusted advisor, and speak intelligently to the problem your prospects are facing, the solution that you offer, and also the cost of inaction. Shout out to Jen Ellen Knuth. You can follow her on LinkedIn. She speaks about the cost of inaction a lot if you want to learn how to build that into your business case. But practically speaking, how are you supposed to demonstrate all of this into one email or cold call? The answer is you do not. You can't. So we actually analyzed thousands of Apollo users to see who the heck is booking meetings, and the results were very interesting to me. Most Apollo users actually only send one email per account. And of those users, 16% of them booked a meeting. So step one is just use multiple steps with multiple contacts within an account, and you're already going to be ahead of the masses. The next major cohort we took a look at used multiple steps, but every step was actually an automated email. And of that group, 46% of people booked a meeting. So that's literally a 3x increase in success rate, but I know that we can do better. If you want to know what the top 1% of sellers using Apollo do, the answer is multi-step, multi-threaded sequences. So I'm talking emails that point to a cold call, that leave a reverse voicemail that references the LinkedIn DM you're about to send them. You're effectively having a conversation in your prospects' various inboxes and inviting them to join you in that conversation there. And because you don't know which channel they personally prefer or spend time on, it's best to hedge your bets and use all of them. One prospect may reply on email 1, or like James, it might be touch number 7, and it could have been a LinkedIn DM. Statistically speaking, it actually takes an average of 7 touches to get a reply. So definitely don't give up on that first email. If we're going to build some authentic business relationships, we have to be willing to meet our prospects where they're at and demonstrate we know how to help them. So before we hit send, the internet is a really big place, and all the information you need to craft a relevant message is just a Google or GPT search away. Things like, has the company recently gotten funding or done a RIF even? Have there been major industry updates or government regulations that have shifted things within that industry? Do you have mutual connections with the prospect you're reaching out to, or did they recently get a promotion? All of these little details can help you tailor your messaging, especially for those tier 1 accounts. So before we hit send, we're going to research at the company level. We're going to research at the industry level, research at the prospect and persona level, and then personalize a relevant message via multi-channel, multi-touch sequences that get that business conversation started. If you do all this, you're golden. And if you're like, but Zoe, that sounds like a lot of work. It is. And that is where Apollo really comes in and helps take some of that manual lift off. And so James is actually going to walk us through right now how to do all of this in Apollo.
Well, thank you, Zoe. And I've been keeping track of some of the questions in chat. I'll try to address some of them while I'm doing the in-app portion, but let me hop in and show you how you can do some of this stuff. I got a few things that I think you'll be excited to see. Now, I did see a lot of folks talking, hey, this looks like a lot of work. Oftentimes, you'll end up booking more meetings and having more sales by working less leads and working them better. And if you're not sure about that, you can always, I had a mentor that told me have 3 plan A's. Have a pool of leads that you work more intently with more follow-ups, and have a group that's maybe more automated, doing it the way you're doing it now. So we're at the home screen. First thing I want to show you, let's go start with persona. We talked about ICPs. I'm going to tie a few things together we just talked about. Of course, I'm at the home screen. I'm going to pop into search. If you have an Apollo, or maybe you just made your free Apollo account. So you'll notice near the top over here, if you're not using this, it's a simple and easy way not only to simplify your searches, but to organize your searches for your personas and niche down here so you get better data. So if you haven't used it, when you open up Persona, you'll notice that when you hit plus Persona to build one out, it's got those 4 different filters: job titles, industry and keywords, location, number of employees. With job title, industry, and the size of the company, even with your automated stuff, which I see people talking about in chat, you can speak more specifically to folks. When I was at Uber, first time I had access to Apollo, like I said, I worked less leads. And when the biggest results started coming in was when I started creating lots of different searches, focusing on common characteristics so that everything could be optimized. The nice thing about that is when you niche down, if something's working really well, you could put more leads into that sequence or that idea. You could double down on the number of follow-ups as well. When you have persona set up, it allows you to build new searches a lot quicker. Again, you can just click the persona over here and add the other filters on top. A lot of people aren't using the engagement data, especially if you've got data on people you've tried to work before. Let me zoom out so you can see it here, but you got your engagement data here, your CRM data. If you set up Apollo Conversations, we talked about this last time, you could actually sort by deals that didn't close in the past, different competitors, objections. It makes it real easy there, but it also makes it easy to then set up some of these automations, such as with that website visitor tracking. I'll show you where to set that up in a second. So that's where you find the personas. Let me hop over to buying intent. I actually created a saved search on this. I saw a lot of folks talking about this. I'll address that. But I'm going to load up one of my saved searches. Now, one of the things I want to give advice on, when we look at the people booking the most meetings, again, all Apollo users have access to the same leads. And we can see that you saw the data that Zoe put up there, where how people use the platform and how they keep things organized dramatically impacts the number of meetings they book and the amount of deals they close. So if you're not keeping things organized and niching down, giving yourself clarity at a glance with how you title your searches, I'll show you one of mine here. You don't need to be this descriptive. You can be more or less, but at least make it so you know exactly what's in there and have those common characteristics very apparent. So in this case, just to give you a sense of what I mean, what's the title, the size of the company, the industry, other filters that are important, so you can speak to that. If you're not sure, I saw a lot of folks saying, what about if I'm a startup, I don't have data, I'm not sure who I'm going after? Come up with a number of different hypotheses. There's going to be industries where there's something happening in macro. I went on a walk one time with the CEO of Aptus, or maybe it was Conga at the time. His name was Raj Varma, and he says, in business, if you want to win, you always want to ride the macro wave. Figure out what's going on there. So when people say no, if you're niche down, you can use those insights to improve either should you be working those leads, or what pain can you be tying to see more success. So let me load up the save search and I'll apply the buying intent filter to give you an idea how to use this. So again, when I look into how folks are often using it, they're using the buy intent filter to say, show me leads of people looking to buy what I'm doing. And then there's very little filtering or qualification or organization beyond that. It's better if you have your different ideas, personas set up, and then separate the ones that have seen intent versus the ones that don't. You don't need to work them all that much differently. On those, I like put more follow-ups, more attention on them, but you don't need to be doing anything crazy. So let me show you here. Buying intent filter. I'll expand it so you can see. Of course, you can turn on intent, high, medium, or low, or none. If you need the definitions, that's in the knowledge base, but it's just a matter of time frame and how many searches they've done. Now, of course, there's tons of different intent topics. If you haven't checked lately, I believe there's more because I was going through it today. I was pretending to be a sales training provider since I'm an Apollo Academy sales instructor. But if you got a search, you niche down, separate out the ones that didn't have any intent, and then create another search for the ones that have intent. You don't want to just have all your intent in one pile. So I'm going to choose sales training providers. I'm just going to say no matter high, medium, or low, I want them all. That's usually going to narrow you down significantly. I was around 1,400 before. Now I'm at 1,600. Save that search again. Tab over to save as a new search. Keep the title the same. Again, give yourself that clarity at a glance. Know what it's going on there. So you can speak very specifically to them still. Just because they search for this at some point doesn't mean we can skip over doing this the right way and then save that one. As you start to see what leads are working best, even without the intent, then you'll know the ones that with intent are going to be even better. So you get a lot of data when you organize your leads in this way. And most people aren't doing it that way. That group booking the most meetings, they're really good about that. They usually end up working less leads than everybody else, but having more searches, more sequences aligned with those searches, more meetings. So let me pop over to one other thing with, actually, I want to show you something a lot of folks don't know. and somebody emailed me about this yesterday, you can use those intent filters as dynamic variables. So I'm going to pop over to emails. And a lot of people were telling me that they're just calling up and saying, hey, I heard you were searching for this. Those intent topics mean they've searched for something in that category. And the low one, it's once in the last 90 days. I can't tell you how many times when I've been at a company, somebody asked me to search for something for them. They wouldn't even necessarily know what companies I looked up. That intent data is at the company level. So if you're calling an executive, it doesn't, and they're saying, hey, I've never searched for that. Doesn't mean that they were, could have been somebody on their team. So let me go over to my templates and show you that you can use those intent topics right in your emails. So here's an example for the intent topic. I'm going to pop over to the dynamic variables. Now, of course, you're probably used to putting name, company, that sort of stuff, your sign, whatever it might be. When you go to company, scroll down, it's kind of hidden. You'll notice that intent topics are there, primary and secondary. I've never actually referenced a secondary intent topic. I think that might be difficult, but you can pop that into an email. Now, again, people might not remember they're searching for something. We still want to do our, we still want to sell. We want to connect to the pain, but instead of just saying, were you searching for this? Are you ready to buy this? Potentially you could say, hey, I noticed XYZ about your company. Again, if you're niche down, you could really be speaking to the pains, the concerns of what's happening there, which makes me think that you might be in need of, that's where you'd insert your intent topic or the one you're using there. Would you be looking into that? I would then bring up an example of what you've done for companies in that industry and then ask, if it's not you, do you know who might be looking for that? As I reached out to folks and chatted about this, the folks that use it to bring up, are you looking at this or do you know who might be? They said they had the most success because oftentimes they're getting passed to somebody, whether they look for it or not, they've now just got identified who might care about this from somebody else in the organization. So if you're not doing that, check that out. So let me go hop over to that company intent. If you don't have that set up, again, you can find out what companies are coming to your website really easily with Apollo. Works on every plan. You can just go to your settings. You just need to put one thing in. Just go to your settings, type website visitors, and you'll notice there's an Apollo script to pop in. Tell us the domains that you want to be tracked at the bottom. You can test that connection to make sure that it's working. You'll see active right down here. And then that data will feed over to your company search fields. Just to show you where that is, I'll hop back to search. Now that data again is at the company level, so you're going to want to click on companies. And this is where you can then leverage your website visitor data. And even better, with persona, which we just covered, you can actually set up automations if it's the right type of company coming to your website on a weekly or monthly basis. Some level of intent, how many times they come back. You can actually find the right person in that company, automatically put them into a sequence, or message you, or ping you on Slack, or message them, whatever you'd like. We've actually got that in Apollo Academy. I'll make sure to get a link up to Apollo Academy later if you want to set that automation up. The last thing I want to show you is, because I feel too few people use this, and I'm going to show you a really awesome way to use this on LinkedIn. But if you haven't set up lead scoring yet, you just go to settings. You can start typing scoring. And you'll see there's two options under scoring and signals. First one, scoring, will allow you to put together essentially an equation. What do you care about? What's good and what's bad? Apollo, with some data, will start to come up with its own model, its own math of what it thinks is good for you. But you can always create the score at the person level or company level. And there's a number of filters you could pop in here in terms of size, what's good in terms of their industry. I'll show you that in a second. But you got people, companies. You could come up with multiple scoring models. And then you just start adding the filters on customer fit or behavioral attributes. Again, Apollo can keep track of a lot of things, a lot of signals that are going on at a company. You could feed those into the score. Not only can you use that when you're searching for leads, companies or people, you can pull that over to LinkedIn. And I'll show you an example here. And if you don't have the Apollo Chrome extension, I would go grab that. I'll give you a couple reasons why. But I'm on the page here of Joshua Garrison, author of Outbound Sales I mentioned earlier, and also some wonderful comic books.
Hey, Jay,
yeah.
just so you know, we're still looking at the scoring page on in Apollo if you're on LinkedIn. You're looking at my LinkedIn profile, right?
Yep. Let me fix that. There we go. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me pull up that Apollo Chrome extension again. Again, Josh Garrison, that's actually who coincidentally just popped in to save me there. Now, here's that Chrome extension where you can get all their details. Again, it's nice and simple to save a contact from that. If you don't have it, you got to get it. But when you set up that scoring, any profile you're on, somebody that comments on your post, somebody that's commenting on a competitor's post, when you go to their profile, you'll see their score, even if you're only just started to build that out with very few details. Additionally, signals will show up here. When you're researching, this is a great way to get some details. When you go to insights at the bottom, you can tap through news about the company, technologies, funding, hiring. That makes it all simple. It's nice and collated together. But if there are signals, things that could be happening at a company or in somebody's career that are good and ideal for what you're selling, Apollo will pull that all in, not only in the app, but also while you're directly on somebody's profile page over here. And just a quick note, because I feel like so few take advantage of this. One of the best things I ever did in my career was take lots of notes on customers, on prospects. You never know when that's going to come in use or in handy when you're talking to somebody. If you didn't know this, when you click on the activities tab, of course, you can see everything you've done with the lead there, but you can save and log notes directly from the Chrome extension so that whenever you're working that lead again in the future, it's right here. So Josh likes pizza. That's going to be very important. That's going to be the detail that helps me close that deal. And I saw actually somebody bring up in the chat, who was it? Hector brought up Jill Conrad's book. If you haven't read those books, I like snap selling. That's wonderful. She gets into signal-based selling a lot. So I'm just going to pop over there real quick. One of the most impactful books in my career was Jill Conrad's Snap Selling. Signals in Apollo, if you haven't set these up, you can tell Apollo what to look for. That can give you in a position to be at the right time, at the right place, or to know what to talk about. Again, you should be niching down your searches and your sequences. This is a great way to do it. There's a lot of pre-built ones in here already, whether that be merger and acquisition, new product or service, recent funding, rapid growth. You can involve how many people they're hiring or letting go, if they've been in the news for new executives, that sort of thing. The top right, you'll see you can create a signal that can be at the people or company level. That'll set up inside of search, but again, that'll show up for you on anybody's page that you're on LinkedIn. So I have one more thing to show you. So somebody is mentioning, I saw a couple folks bring this up that, hey, we're a startup or we don't have very good data. And that's actually something that happens a lot. So how are we going to build out an ICP? How are we going to know what our persona should be? So one way you can do that, and I went and reached out to folks to see what they did early in their startup phase. And I got a couple good ideas I'm going to toss you now. One of them was that under Apollo at companies, you can search for companies and use filters, but you can also upload a list of companies and then leverage all the Apollo data to look for the trends and insights. So one person told me that one of the really most impactful things they did was start downloading list of the companies that use competitor products, or what might be considered a proxy or something they're trying to replace, and then uploading it into companies in Apollo. From there, they could filter it, look for the trends, and they started building out different variations of who they thought their ideal personas would be. And they said that was actually where they ended up finding their first success as a startup. So if you haven't done that before, you can upload and import the list. You can create it manually inside of Apollo. You just select it right here, and it'll show you all the details of all those companies.